Have you ever walked into a room full of people, laughter echoing off the walls, conversations buzzing all around, and still felt completely out of place? You smile politely, you make small talk, but deep down, there's a quiet tug, a feeling that you don't really belong in that noise anymore, and maybe, just maybe, a little voice in your head wonders, what's wrong with me? If that sounds familiar, I want you to know something right now. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you. In fact, there's a hidden strength in you that few people understand. And in a world that glorifies business and constant connection, you're pulled toward quiet, toward peace, toward being alone. That isn't weakness. That's wisdom. As we get older, something shifts. The things that used to light us up, parties, crowds, constant chatter, might start to feel draining instead of energizing. But here's the truth that so few are willing to say out loud. It's okay to crave something different. It's okay to want stillness, and it's more than okay to choose solitude. Let's explore why. That feeling of wanting to step away from the crowd isn't a sign that you're broken. It's a sign that you're awakening to a deeper part of yourself, a part that values clarity over chaos, authenticity over appearances, and real peace over constant performance. Let's start with the noise, not the kind that comes from traffic or loud music, but the noise of modern life, the endless conversations, the opinions, the gossip, the need to always be available, always be on. Years ago, it was easier to get away from all that, but now, it follows us everywhere. Through phone notifications, news alerts, group texts, social media, and even casual interactions with people who never stop talking and rarely say anything that truly matters. But imagine for a moment someone sitting quietly in their home, away from it all. They're surrounded by problems, family drama, world events, unfinished tasks. But inside, they've learned to turn down the volume. They've found a place that's calm and quiet, not outside, but within themselves. One day they write in their journal, "Nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul." That's not the voice of someone antisocial. That's the voice of someone who has discovered where true peace lives, inside their own stillness. And maybe you feel that too. You don't dislike people. You just can't stand the noise that comes with being around too many of them for too long. The small talk, the repetition, the drama that never ends. Your heart wants space. It wants clarity. It wants that deep, restful silence you've come to treasure, the kind you only get when you're alone and no one's asking anything of you. So don't mistake that craving for silence as weakness. It's not. It's a reminder that you value your own peace more than pleasing others, and that is powerful. But there's another reason you might be pulling away from the crowd, and it has to do with something much harder to talk about: judgment. It's a strange thing, isn't it? You get older, wiser, more experienced, and yet somehow people still feel the need to judge your choices. They judge how you dress, how you talk, how you spend your time. They question your dreams, your ideas, your beliefs, and when you start to live differently, maybe more simply, more slowly, more inwardly, they whisper, "She's changed," or "He's isolating." But here's what those people don't understand. The need to be liked by everyone, that's a young person's game. At some point, you realize that trying to fit into other people's expectations is like trying to wear shoes that don't fit anymore. Uncomfortable, unnatural, unnecessary. You start to see things more clearly. You realize that many people are too busy judging others to fix their own lives. And when they criticize you, it has more to do with their discomfort than your decisions. That little flicker of anger you feel when someone makes a snide comment about your lifestyle or questions your choices, that's not irrational. That's your soul standing up for itself. And when you begin to walk away from those environments, when you choose not to attend every gathering or answer every phone call, it's not because you've given up on connection. It's because you finally found the courage to connect with what truly matters: your freedom, your clarity, your peace. It's not that you're running away from people. You're running toward yourself. You've lived long enough to know that crowds don't always equal connection. Sometimes they just mean more pressure, more noise, more judgment. And you've earned the right to step back without apology. So if you've ever thought, "Why do I feel so good when I'm alone?" Now you know. It's not that you're broken or bitter or out of place. It's that you've reached a point in life where surface-level conversations and constant business no longer serve you. And that's a beautiful place to be. You don't need to explain your solitude to anyone. It speaks for itself in the peace you carry, in the way you no longer rush, in the deep sense of calm that others quietly admire, even if they don't understand it. And maybe, just maybe, by choosing quiet over chaos, you're showing others what real strength looks like. Because strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's the gentle choice to sit in silence, to walk alone, to listen to your soul instead of the crowd. Have you ever noticed how some conversations feel like a weight being lifted, while others feel like they're pulling you under? You walk away from certain people feeling calm, maybe even energized. But with others, you leave feeling completely drained. It's like your energy has been poured out all over the floor, and for what? A chat about the weather? Another round of meaningless gossip? A conversation that goes in circles but never really goes anywhere? That feeling, the one where you sigh and think, why did I even bother going? That's not you being antisocial. That's your body, your mind, your heart, all working together to protect you, because you've lived long enough to know that not every interaction is worth your time or your energy. There's something most people never learn. Your energy is one of your most valuable resources. And as we grow older, we realize just how precious it really is. You don't bounce back as quickly after spending hours doing things that don't fulfill you. You feel it deeper when people take more than they give, and you become acutely aware that your time, your life, is far too short to be wasted on shallow interactions that leave you feeling empty. Long ago, someone wise once said that society can drain you like an invisible thief, stealing your energy in ways you don't even notice at first until one day you're running on fumes, wondering why you're tired all the time, why your joy seems harder to reach, why the things that used to feel good now just feel exhausting. You're not tired because you're old. You're tired because you've been giving your energy to the wrong places. You've spent years showing up for others, at work, at home, in social situations, smiling when you didn't feel like it, listening when your own thoughts were begging for attention, pretending to care about conversations you knew would lead nowhere, just so no one would think you were rude or distant. And little by little, that drains you, not just your physical energy, but your emotional vitality. So what do? You start to pull away. You say no to more invitations. You stop answering calls that don't feel right. You retreat to your quiet corner, not out of sadness or anger, but out of self-respect. You begin to see solitude not as something you're stuck with, but something you choose. Because when you're alone, you're not wasting energy trying to please others. You're not putting on a show. You're not pretending. You're just being. And that's when your soul breathes easiest. But there's more to it than just energy. There's another reason why solitude starts to feel like a safe haven, and it's one we don't talk about enough: the fear of inauthenticity. Now, that's a big word, but it boils down to this: fake relationships. You know the kind I'm talking about. The friends who only call when they need something. The people who smile to your face, but whisper behind your back. The ones who act like they care, but disappear the moment things get hard. At a certain age, you stop playing along. You've seen enough to know the difference between real and pretend, between someone who shows up because they love you and someone who shows up because it's convenient. And when you've spent a lifetime navigating that, smiling politely, biting your tongue, showing grace when you should have been walking away, it's only natural that you'd start to pull back. It's not because you don't value connection. It's because you finally learned to value the right kind of connection, the kind that doesn't need performance, the kind that lets you show up with messy hair, a heavy heart, or no words at all, and still feel seen, still feel loved, still feel like you matter. You've learned that you'd rather be alone than surrounded by people who only love the version of you that's convenient for them. And in that quiet, you start to reconnect with yourself. You remember who you are without all the noise, all the roles, all the expectations. You hear your own thoughts again. You feel your own rhythms. You breathe differently. You move slower. And it feels good. That's not loneliness. That's truth. And here's the beautiful part. When you start choosing solitude over pretense, something shifts. You begin to attract relationships that are more genuine, not many. Not loud, but real, and more than enough. Because when you're authentic with yourself, you make space for others to be authentic too. So if you've been spending more time alone lately, not out of sadness but out of peace, that's not a problem that needs fixing. That's a life that's beginning to heal. There's nothing wrong with craving real connection and choosing to wait for it. instead of settling for surface-level interactions. There's nothing wrong with wanting to protect your energy and spend your time in ways that feel meaningful instead of draining. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with walking away from people, places, and conversations that no longer serve the person you've become. If anything, that's a sign of strength. It's a sign that you've stopped performing. You've stopped people-pleasing. You've stopped pretending. And in its place, you've chosen honesty, clarity, peace. You've chosen you. And as you sit with that in the quiet, in the stillness, maybe in a chair by the window or on a walk by yourself, I want you to remember something powerful. You're not isolating. You're aligning. You're not disappearing. You're deepening. You're not giving up on people. You're giving yourself back to yourself. That is not weakness. That is the beginning of something beautiful. You've spent a lifetime taking care of others. Children, partners, aging parents, coworkers, friends. There was always someone who needed your attention, your help, your strength, and for years, you gave it. Sometimes more than you had. You put yourself last because that's what strong people do, right? But somewhere along the way, something inside you shifted. Maybe it was subtle. Maybe it happened all at once. But you began to feel a pull not toward others, but inward. You began to long for something deeper than social calendars and check-in calls, something more honest than polite conversation, something quieter, slower, more real. That longing is not weakness. It's the desire for self-mastery, the kind of inner strength that can only be found when the noise fades away and the world stops asking you to be someone you're not. There comes a time in life when you realize that the most important journey you'll ever take isn't outward. It's not about the places you visit, the roles you play, or the titles you hold. It's about the journey within, to understand yourself, to heal what's hurt, and to rediscover the quiet power that's been with you all along. You don't need approval anymore. You don't need applause. What you crave is truth, even if it comes in silence. Because when you sit in that silence, when you turn off the TV, put down the phone, and let your thoughts rise to the surface, something beautiful happens. You start to notice what's really going on inside. You reflect on your values. What matters now, not what mattered 20 years ago, or what other people think should matter, but what really matters to you in this chapter of your life. You look at your purpose, not the one tied to work or family or responsibilities, but the one that belongs only to you. The quiet sense of meaning that fills your chest when you do something simple, like watch birds in the morning light, or write a few lines in a journal just for yourself. You see your flaws not with shame but with kindness. You forgive more easily. You judge less harshly. You understand that growth doesn't stop at 40 or 60 or even 90. It keeps going as long as you keep showing up for it. You begin to grow in a different direction, not outward, like a young tree reaching toward the sky, but inward, like roots that deepen and strengthen the whole. That's what self-mastery really is. It's not about perfection. It's not about always being calm or wise or strong. It's about knowing yourself deeply and loving what you find there. Even the messy parts. Even the parts still healing. And when someone once said, "You have power over your mind, not external events, realize this, and you will find strength." They weren't just speaking words to sound profound. They were handing us a key. Because the older we get, the more we realize how little control we have over the outside world. People will still talk. The world will still turn. Life will still be unpredictable. But inside, that's your domain. You get to decide what thoughts you feed, what memories you carry, what dreams you still want to chase. You get to decide how you spend your time, who you let in, what you say yes to, and what you lovingly decline. That kind of freedom, that kind of choice, it's one of the greatest gifts of aging. You no longer need to fit in. You no longer have to impress. You no longer owe anyone the watered-down version of yourself just to make them comfortable. You get to be whole. You get to be honest. You get to be still. And if the world doesn't understand that, let it be confused. Let it move on without you, because you're not missing anything. You're making something. You're making peace. You're making space. You're making a life that finally feels like it belongs to you. So the next time someone asks, "Why don't you come around more?" or "Why don't you call as much as you used to?" you don't owe them an explanation. But if you feel like offering one, you can smile gently and say, "I'm learning to enjoy my own company. Or I'm discovering things about myself I didn't have time to see before, or simply, I'm good, truly. Because that's what this is all about. Not escaping, not hiding, but returning to yourself, to your wisdom, to your quiet power. And if you ever doubt it, just remember, the world may call it loneliness, but you know better. You know it's a sacred kind of strength. The strength to be with yourself without fear, without distraction, without needing to be anything but real. And in case no one's told you lately that's rare, that's beautiful. And that's something to be proud of. So whether you're spending more time in your garden, taking long walks by yourself, reading, writing, sitting in silence, or just listening to your own heartbeat in the middle of a quiet room, know this: you are not alone, because somewhere, someone else is sitting in their quiet too, perhaps watching this very video, and feeling that same tug toward stillness, truth, and peace. And together, even in our solitude, we're connected. If this message spoke to you, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments. Let others know they're not the only ones choosing stillness over noise. Like this video if it gave you comfort, and subscribe to my channel for more content that speaks to the strength and wisdom of your years. And above all, keep listening to that quiet voice inside you. It's not weakness, it's your guide, your wisdom, your strength. Here's to living with courage, calm, and clarity at every age.